No, I need to just double check, make sure it's set up right. Okay, so we're over here. Hey folks, I hope you're okay. Welcome to this week's video, and this week we're going to be talking about creatine and how creatine affects performance, whether or not you need to supplement with it, what creatine actually is, and does it have a beneficial effect on the body, how best to go around taking creatine and using it in your kind of routines, in your training, to help you maximize muscle growth and potential. So we're going to get down to the video. I'm going to overlay this audio over some of my previous training recently that I've been doing and just kind of implement it all together, and we'll just see how it works. So before we get into it, please do go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, share this content with as many people as possible so they can start to understand what creatine is and how it's going to help them. And we're going to get into it. Oh yes, I don't know where that came from. Oh. So to begin with, we want to look at what creatine actually is. And creatine is a nitrogenous organic acid that occurs naturally in vertebrates. Okay, so humans being vertebrates. It's the main role to facilitate recycling of adenosine triphosphate, or ATP. So ATP is essentially the energy that we use for muscular contraction, and it's used predominantly in short bursts like sprinting or weight training. So this is achieved by recycling adenosine diphosphates. As you can tell here from diphosphate, there's two phosphate molecules, and we're converting it into ATP by a donation of a phosphate group. Now, creatine also acts as a pH buffer in tissues, so this is all about energy recycling and being able to take adenosine diphosphate, or ADP, into adenosine triphosphate, di being 2 phosphates, tri being 3 phosphates. So creatine synthesizes primarily in the liver and the kidneys, and most of the human body's total creatine and phosphocreatine stores are found predominantly in the skeletal muscle. So creatine isn't an essential nutrient, as it is naturally produced in the human body from the amino acids glycine and arginine. So synthesis primarily takes place in the liver and the kidneys, with creatine then being transported to the muscles via the blood. So it gets synthesized and then sent into the bloodstream, where it's taken to the skeletal muscles. So some small studies suggest that total muscle creatine is significantly lower in vegetarians than non-vegetarians, as expected, since vegetables aren't a primary source of creatine. However, subjects happen to show the same levels after using supplementation of creatine in itself. The concentration of ATP in skeletal muscle will only result in muscle contractions for maybe a few seconds before we need to start to utilize or resynthesize ATP from ADP. So fortunately, during times of increased energy demand, the phosphagen or ATP phosphocreatine system, it rapidly resynthesizes ATP from ADP using the phosphocreatine. In most muscles, the ATP regeneration capacity of creatine kinase is very high and therefore not a limiting factor. Although the cellular concentrations of ATP are small, changes are difficult to detect because ATP is continuously and efficiently replenished from the large pools of phosphocreatine and creatine kinase. So creatine has the ability to increase muscle stores of phosphocreatine, potentially increasing the muscle's ability to resynthesize ATP from ADP to meet increased energy demands. So creatine use can increase maximum power and performance in high intensity anaerobic repetitive work, for example weight training, by 5 to 15%. Now that 5 to 15% is great potential for us with our weight training. So it's got no specific no significant effect on aerobic endurance, though it will increase power during short sessions of high intensity aerobic exercise. So the use of creatine by healthy adults in normal dosage does not harm the kidneys. Down to popular belief, it was thought that creatine damages the kidneys, but this myth is still not well understood. Supplementing with creatine, we want to look at potentially doing a loading phase. So loading of 20 grams per day for 7 days, and then decreasing down to 2 to 3 grams per day for a maintenance phase. Some companies may recommend that you cycle the product, but it doesn't need cycling because the body doesn't build up a tolerance to it like caffeine. Now, with the fitness industry giving us false promises and also overpricing supplements, creatine is one of the most well-researched and very affordable supplements on the market. We've got 3 types of creatine. There's creatine hydrochloric, there's creatine ethyl ester, and there's creatine monohydrate. Now the difference between the 3 is creatine HCl and creatine ethyl ester, they don't have the same backing as creatine monohydrate. Creatine monohydrate is very inexpensive. For example, a teaspoon of powder would equal a kilogram of raw beef. So you can see here supplementing is very effective with the cost to benefit ratio. Creatine is a tripeptide. It's essentially 3 amino acids linked together, and you can't get enough of this from the diet to see an enhancing effect because cooking also denatures the creatine. So the normal diet containing 1 to 2 grams daily of creatine, this doesn't allow the muscle creatine stores to be fully saturated. It's just sitting at around 60 to 80%. So supplementation of creatine increases muscle creatine by around 20 to 40%. So saturation will best be maintained through supplementation of creatine. It can be taken any time throughout the day. There doesn't need to be a specific time, either pre-training or post-training. It can be taken whenever, as long as you're maybe doing the loading phase and then moving into your maintenance, your muscle stores will be replenished. So creatine does cause intramuscular water retention, but that's okay because that's where we want the muscle water. Well, that's where we want the water in the muscle. And this can also increase muscle fiber diameter, which could increase muscle growth through cellular swelling, which is something that we look for with hypertrophy. So some people don't see results with creatine, and this is estimated to be around 20 to 30% of people, but this may be down to genetics, this may be down to dietary history, kind of training intensity, volume. There's so many things that can be affecting the reason why people don't see results with creatine, but it's definitely a supplement that I would recommend putting into your routine. Just taking the time to implement creatine and understand why you need to be putting it into your training, why you need to be putting it into your program is really going to benefit you in the long run. And as you've seen or heard from some of the information here, creatine is actually going to be a positive effect with your results and your goals. So I hope that you found this video informative. I really do hope that you've taken away some information about what creatine is, how best to implement it, load the body up with creatine, maintaining it, and the benefits that you can get from taking creatine. Thank you very much for checking this video out. Please do go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next video. So take care.